George Takei commented recently, Ian, on the sexuality of the character
Sulu.
of Sulu in the new universe movies, which the third one's coming out this week.
I find this to be very interesting, and I'm going to be careful with my commenting just because. Okay, so George Takei is the original actor of Sulu on Star Trek, created by Gene Roddenberry, who was portrayed as a straight character. George Takei is gay, very outspoken for advocate for gay rights.
He's like 84, I think.
He's old and still funny. Still pretty fucking whip crack smart on things.
How's that voice?
And he's got a very sultry voice.
Very sultry voice.
And so what's happened here, but George Takei is also very, very loyal to Star Trek. Big fan of Star Trek. Big fan of what Roddenberry was doing. Big fan of the barriers that Roddenberry was breaking down at that point in time. People forget what a big deal Kirk and Uhura's kiss was.
Interracial kiss.
I mean, there were Southern TV stations that refused to broadcast it. But it's been announced that in the new Star Trek movie, Sulu is going to be made to be a gay character. And this was being done, theoretically, at least, it was all the good intent of kind of honoring George Takei by kind of having because I believe this movie is taking place before what would have happened in the original series. And
well, no, this is an alternate universe. Oh, it's actually not an alternate. It's an alternate timeline. That's what's important to the conversation.
Okay, well,
because in the first movie, time split. It split because of that the ship came through and then fucked things up, destroyed Vulcan. It's a different timeline.
So what's happening is they're writing Sulu to be a gay character
in this newest
movie, and George Takei's not particularly happy about it. And it's interesting because here you have someone who played an iconic character, who was homosexual, and they want to do something to honor him, but the guy is an advocate for rights and seeing different sexualities and genders in media, but he's very upset about the idea of Sulu being portrayed as gay because he believes it interrupts the vision of what he is so attached to and what he's a part of and what he reveres. And his argument was, why couldn't you have just made a new character who is homosexual and introduce them into the universe? So it's odd to me because
the idea
I don't know.
Came from Simon Pegg, who's actually co-writing the new movie.
Exactly.
He plays Scotty.
If I was George Takei, and I'm not, but if I was, I would be kind of honored that they were doing this. But on the other hand, I understand George Takei's reverence for what he was so integral in making a big thing.
This is a very strange, just because of points you brought up. Here's a guy, and by the way, he's 79, not 84. I think actually it's closer. Well, I think actually Shatner's almost like 90 almost at this point.
Jesus,
he's gotten there. Unfortunately, there's only a few of them left. Anyway, he's wrestling with the fact that yes, he's a big activist for LGBT rights. Has been for I think like 10 years. It came out in like 2004 or 5. It's been at least 10 years.
It's been a while.
Right before he started appearing like on Howard Stern.
Yeah.
He blew up because of that. So he's at one point he's looking at it. Well, this character I portrayed this character for however he portrayed it for 35 years or 30 years. He portrayed the character just about. So he's looking at it as well. I portrayed the character a certain way. You're not respecting that aspect of it. You're doing your own thing, and sort of like you didn't ask me beforehand to see if I agreed with it.
Well, they did talk to him about it, and he said no. They did.
So that's even worse.
It's in the article. They talked to him about it, and he had basically said no. I'd prefer that you didn't do that. So
then that's disrespectful then.
Yes,
because that means then, Jesus, why would you do that? Because now you're giving all of them this attention that he didn't want to with it.
Right. So, I guess it's just I feel bad because he's probably gonna get backlash like, oh well, then why. you fought for all this, and then they do it, and then you look a gift horse in the mouth. But like I said, it's his character.
But him, it's not a gift horse. To him, it's either probably pandering or is it going to be a distraction to the film.
Exactly. So
now you're making Sulu something he wasn't. And a focus point that it shouldn't have been to begin with.
And that was my whole point when I was talking, is the issue here is not them putting a gay character into the Star Trek universe. George Takei wants that. He wants that. He just wants it to be a new character. He doesn't want the character that his friend Gene Roddenberry wrote and that he portrayed for years to be tinkered with in a way that, as you said, could be for attention grabbing, or I'm not usually one to think this way, but for agenda pushing, because there's other ways you can do this, and if you have, and I think I'm safe in saying that, because if you have someone who is as outspoken of an advocate for LGBT rights as Takei, saying, please leave that character be and do it in a new character, or do it with a new character, then you're not really respecting that person. So, you're not honoring that person.
So a scene was written that shows Sulu with a male spouse raising their infant child that's going to be in this film.
Yeah.
The only problem I have with these films to this point has been the biggest one is the fact that they've changed. I don't mind the fact that they have more action in them to dumb them down because they're still fun. The change in the characters, even before this, the biggest one that doesn't make any fucking sense, which this doesn't piss me off at all. This is just kind of a dumb decision to me, where it's like, you really have to do that? Like, what pisses me off, or the writers of these new ones, again, this is not an alternate universe, it's a different timeline. So the characters are the same.
Right.
They should be acting exactly the same.
Sure.
So the only thing that really pisses me off is that they made Spock have a relationship with Uhura. Which is so because in the original shit, nothing. Spock was, for the most part, not entirely, but besides that little...
Largely icy cold.
Icy cold, sexless, except for the time where he went back to his planet to battle out with Kirk famously to get his betrothed or whatever. But he's sexless. He's so logical, though, that he would never have sex with someone on the bridge of his own ship, his crew. That's not, you can't do that in the real military. You can't do that shit, let alone on a ship you're out far away. He would never do it. So when I see these movies, I see them inserting unnecessary shit like that. So for me, this is the next step where it's like, you're bringing me out of it still.
Long story short, bring in all the gay LGBT characters you want. I'm all for diversity in movies. But if I'm with George Takei on this. If this was meant to be an act to honor him or to honor the character, and he does not feel like it is doing such, then you are disrespecting the man.
And he actually had a daughter, which I didn't realize. I haven't seen Star Trek Generations. It's terrible. But he mentions a daughter, and then it turns out that in a novel, that it turns out he had sex with a glamazon, to have the daughter. Okay, I guess there's glamazons. I love that.
Anyways, if you're gonna honor someone, you should you can't force that. They have to sign off on that for it to be considered an honor.
Glamazon Star Trek porn.
We're moving on.
Okay.